Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Omnicom Media Group and Rapp live online career panel. We are super excited to have 5 extremely exciting and interesting panelists today who are all relatively early into their careers in data, and we have an early years talent specialist as well. Now, this is the first time that we've actually collaborated with 2 agencies and 2 companies together to show really, I guess, the breadth of skills and qualifications that they all have to work in a role in data. Just to let you know, this session is being recorded. If you've got any questions, then please do pop them into the chat. We're going to go, and the session is going to be 45 minutes of a panel session. Save your questions. We're going to talk to the panelist for the last 15 minutes. And if you've got any technical difficulties at all, email info@digdata.online and a member of our team will be able to help you ASAP. So, let's kick this off with some intros. Martin, over to you. Can you tell us who you are, please?
Yeah, more than happy to. Yeah, my name's Martin Allen. I'm a junior data analyst, and I work very closely with clients to use data to drive strategic decisions. So a lot of it is building dashboards, making things look pretty.
Fantastic. Vicky, over to you.
Hi, I'm a data analyst from OMG. It's my first job. I'm joined for 1 year now. My day-to-day job mainly just play around data, use a lot of different modeling methodologies to see what's happened, what should we do better for better marketing performance, basically.
Fantastic. Yeah. Molly, over to you.
Hi guys, I'm Molly. I'm the early talent recruiter at OMG for digital and data roles. I started off my career at PwC, recruiting for like tax, finance roles and that kind of stuff. And about a year ago, moved across to OMG and look after all of sort of digital and data.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I work at PhD. I've been here. This is also my first job, and I've been here almost 3 years. I used to do a lot of modelling day to day and working with data in all sorts of forms.
Fantastic. Lana, last but by no means least.
Hello, I'm Lana. I've been here at Rapp for about a year now, and I work closely with clients, just telling a story through data.
Fantastic. Right. Well, thank you for your intros. Let's kick this off. Martin, at secondary school, specifically year 9, you were not academically orientated at all and found yourself not achieving. Who turned this around for you, and how did the love of patterns turn your academics around and lead you into studying mathematics at uni?
Quite a funny story, actually. I was always a naughty kid in school. So the turning point for me came with from my maths teacher in year 9 towards the end of the year. I got kicked out of lesson because I was being silly. I was called back in afterwards and had a good conversation with my teacher about what would help me achieve what I'd like to achieve at school. How can I get from where I am now to where I want to be? Had a really good, meaningful conversation, and we laid out a path, like ask questions at the end of the lesson. Don't hesitate to spend 5 minutes interrogating your teacher, like, why is this happening? Why does this formula work? And that was really key for me, because it built my confidence, but it also allowed me to explain those patterns.
Wow, that's fantastic. And now you're sitting here inspiring lots of next gen, hopefully, data professionals. There you go. Lauren, let's go to you. When you chose your A-levels, they were very maths heavy until you chose to study history too. Why is it important to study something non-maths or science related as well as maths, in your opinion?
Yeah, so when I chose my A-levels, I thought I either wanted to study maths or physics at uni. So further maths and physics were kind of the no-brainers. I always thought I was going to do them. And the school I was at recommended you did 4 if you did further maths. So I was like, okay, I signed up to do history or economics. Did about a week of economics and thought, this is not for me. I need to do something that's a bit different. I need to keep my essay skills open and do something that I'm a bit more interested in rather than just equations all day. So yeah, I ended up doing history to A-level and really enjoyed it and found it a really valuable experience.
And I guess a little bit of a break from the numbers, like you say.
A big break from the numbers.
Number crazy.
Definitely appreciated.
Lana, you're completely different. You studied English, history, and media at A-level, and had a passion for research and collecting data to tell a story, which is probably, you know, a no-brainer now that you're doing what you're doing. When it came to deciding on which course to study at university, you had a tough choice between criminology and sociology. How did you make that decision? Because I guess there's going to be some people on the call today that are really transitioning, like, you know, from year 10 to year 12, if year 12 to, you know, thinking about university or not university. And that's a tough choice, right? Because I guess you haven't actually studied it particularly, you know, in depth. So how do you then go and commit 3 or 4 years to your life to it?
Well, for me, I always knew like I wanted to do like a research-based course. So when I was applying through unis, through UCAS, I knew like the unis that I was interested in, I attended their like open days. And I signed up myself to like some of their taster lectures, which I really, really recommend. So just so I can get an understanding of what like the course would be like. And I just found out that like whilst I was there, criminology had more like research-based modules. So that kind of like put me towards, you know, lean towards that side more. And then I also found out that you were able to pick further research models within that. So that did really help, yeah, to make my own decision. Yeah.
Fantastic. I didn't even know about these sample kind of lectures. You didn't have it in my day. You just
Really
sort of went
good.
any, mini, miny, mo, really, you know, but nice to know that things have moved on. Vicky, you decided to study in the UK, and I love this primarily because of the length of the master's course. Your intention was to come to the UK and then go back to China, wasn't it? But then came the pandemic. So that stopped everybody in their tracks. How did you adapt to studying fully online? And were there any advantages to studying in this way? You know, I guess your idea was to come over here, experience it for a year, but actually that couldn't have got any more different if you tried. You know, was there or have there been advantages to studying?
Yeah, definitely. Because, you know, my intention just to find a shortest course around the world, finish it, go back to China and get a job, like just easy life. But after I came here, a different country, but you can't see anyone, trapped in your own room. Even the course can't be interactive anymore. So yeah, I guess that's a big cons of online studying is your lack of those interaction that you could have had to make you absorb more easily. But what I had is because I at the start, the time management is a big thing for me. I couldn't really focus when you just stay alone in the room. But then I found out it's a lifelong topic that it's beneficial for me just to have those time management. I have my laptop open and proactively I just trying to learn. So I guess it's really kind of benefit me quite long term. Also the short term, just while I was doing the degree, it helped me like all the recordings. I do whatever speed I want, go through all the notes with my own logic. So not only just the professor take me through their logic of this module, but I could have my own thoughts applied in. It also helped me proactively learning, yeah, in another way.
Well, I'm very pleased that you had a positive experience because that, I guess, would have been quite daunting. You know, another country, in a room. Oh my God, I've got to do a master's. How are we going to do that?
Yeah.
Lana, back to you. When you completed your degree, you decided also to undertake a master's in criminology. You loved it that much, you couldn't get enough, clearly. Why was this important to you and how did it influence your career path?
I guess doing that master's in criminology was actually really, really important to me because I think because I wanted to like expand my knowledge and like my studies even further. So like with your final dissertation, like during masters, you get to pick your own like case study or research study. And I really saw that as an opportunity, I guess, to learn even more new skills on research and data. So that really did help like influence my careers because I really knew like that was the path that I wanted to go down to. And yeah, and just have some sort of like experience learning like how to like research even like further and use data within like a case study.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And I suppose, I guess, on that point, you know, research, we always, when we think about data, well, when I used to think about data way back when, I always would associate that with numbers. I'd always associate with maths, but it's not always the case. It's not always necessarily associated. When you were conducting your research for your master's dissertation, I remember you telling me that your subject matter was about violence on refugees, which was, you know, it must have been incredibly interesting and heartbreaking, I guess, at the same time, and eye-opening. And as part of your research, you travelled to Europe to interview some of the refugees. How did you use this data, and how did it kind of help with your research? Because I guess maybe a lot of people on the call that have never considered a career in research might not kind of get the kind of crux of actually, you know, what it actually is.
I guess because obviously I had that opportunity to interview like multiple refugees, all that like information I had to gather. You obviously, like, for me, I had to use like spreadsheets, graphs, tables, and that was like really new to me. So it really did help me tell that story within my dissertation. So obviously I had like basic knowledge of how to use just Excel, but like obviously that gave me the opportunity to like dig further and learn how to like use it, like even like, you know, with newer skills. So like collecting that information and interpreting it, interpreting the evidence, and like actually taking like the appropriate action really did help with like my dissertation and my research. And also actually did give the ability to like gather both primary and like secondary research, and like I got to extract what was important, what wasn't for my case study.
So like words. So
yeah.
Certain words, you mean, that, like, you know, so let's just say, for instance, you know, if there was, well, I would imagine quite a lot of negative words in the interviews you were given.
Yeah.
So you were using that as data as well, were you?
Yeah, all the keywords, everything. Yeah, you could use a lot. So it does genuinely, like, you wouldn't expect it to, but it does help. Yeah, it really does.
That's amazing. And well done you, actually, really important subject. Molly, let's go over to you now. So I guess to that point, really, when we as we assume that employers only want applicants for data roles that are numerical kind of whiz kids and they're, you know, grade A's and 9 stars or whatever it is nowadays, for data related roles. But in your opinion, how are employers now looking outside the box when they're reviewing kind of educational backgrounds? Is there a little bit more flexibility, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, generally speaking, I think maybe for more experienced hire roles, the hiring managers sometimes are looking for specific industry backgrounds or a level of knowledge that only sort of candidates in a particular sector would have. And that approach works. And it definitely can make sense at experienced hire, but I think at entry level, it's a little bit lazy, to be honest. And I think considering candidates outside of that, who have sort of relevant transferable skills, it means we can have a much broader pool of talent that can actually bring something different that people that have studied sort of core sort of super technical subjects. I think, unfortunately, candidates who have super amazing transferable skills, who could walk into a role and absolutely smash it, are often overlooked. But that's definitely not the case with us, for sure. I've got candidates who have done all sorts of things. I've got people who used to be dancers, people who have done like animal management, or people who have worked in like admin for 10 years and they just fancy a change of career. Our roles are absolutely open to sort of anyone who wants to apply. I think the key thing is that people have a passion for the role that they're applying for and they're keen to learn. And I think any degree or A levels that you do, although it might not be directly relevant, the fact you've done it shows a great range of skills that are applicable to any role. So it, you know, problem solving, critical thinking, research, it's all transferable to the roles that would sit within data. So that's the way we look at it, for sure. And I think across the sort of industries and early talent in general, it's something that is changing, which is really positive.
Absolutely, you know, and I guess also that somebody that's able to problem solve and somebody that enjoys problem solving would be quite a key one there. I mean, you know, as far as I'm aware, there's not an A level or a degree in that yet, but you know, watch this space. So I guess you do have to look a little bit outside the box, don't you? And I guess everybody can come to the table and bring something new and exciting. Martin, back to you. This is the one I absolutely love this. So you went from teaching, were you teaching maths?
I was teaching maths, yes.
Yeah, that's it. So you've gone from being the naughty kid in the maths class to a maths teacher. Okay, then
Quite a
realised that
step,
actually,
isn't it? Yeah.
well, I know. I mean, that is one hell of an inspiration. That teacher, I hope he's got a pat on the back. But you know, you decided teaching probably wasn't for you, and actually the commercial world was something that you wanted to explore. But prior to that, you did a master's in computer vision, robotics, and machine learning. Whatever inspired you to, number one, do that course, but you know, after teaching, going back into education?
Yeah, I think I've always been of the mindset that, you know, teach yourself as much as you can in the time that you have. I think it's really important to just keep pushing yourself. But I'm also a very big advocate of having a hobby. Like a hobby in my eyes is the greatest detachment from not just your social life, but your work life, your school life, whatever it is. And so I latched on to, I did a computer science as well as maths at uni as like a minor module. And so I latched onto this passion for programming. And built myself an RC car with a Raspberry Pi from scratch, which was really cool. Even like a cryptocurrency mining bot in Python. So it was just for me a way of detaching from the stresses of life, I suppose, the social life, and just focusing on me. So I'd always advocate getting yourself a hobby, whether it be coding or whether it be anything else.
Yeah, I guess also there's you know, whilst it does sound incredible and it is incredibly technical, you know, there's a lot of creativity there, right? Because you're actually building something. So yeah, hats off to you. I love that. I mean, I've got to be honest, back in my recruitment days, I have placed a couple of maths teachers in kind of analytical roles. But again, you know, to Molly's point, you know, it wasn't as flexible back then. So it's nice to see there's more people transitioning from everywhere. Vicky, now you learnt both R and Python as part of your undergraduate course, and then got the opportunity to apply them in a mathematical modelling 3-day contest in China. What are the advantages in applying your technical expertise to a real life problem? You know, what is it that kind of brings that to life, do you think?
Yeah, I definitely had a loss when I started my degree. I did economics and mathematics for my undergraduate. So I was like, why am I doing this? Why are they setting those random courses? What's the relation? So but I guess I was like a year 3 student. I just got to year 3. But in China the uni was like 4 years. So I don't know too much, and I got this task for like doing a pricing scheme for an application. So the users would take picture and upload to the application, so we have to decide what price, how much money to give them about each picture. So it's a big task for 3 days, and I stayed up for like 2 nights.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a big project for a clueless student, but throughout that I definitely learned, like, I feel like it's a self-teaching process, as well as just to go back to what you've learned and know actually how the module was set, why I learned all those, and what's the relation between each courses, like econometrics and also programming and also statistics, everything. So yeah, I guess having those practical, just practice what you've learned theoretically to the real cases really helped me to understand why I'm learning all those theories. Yeah. So
Brilliant. Thank you. Martin, you've got something you'd like to add there?
Just a quick question. How did you find learning Python? Was it an easy thing to learn, or just for people wanting to break into Python and programming?
Back then I didn't use Python. I used MATLAB and another like modeling regression model. It's called SPSS.
Oh
so
gosh, that's an old tool, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, old.
That's a blast from the past.
Yeah, I use that 2 tools for the contest.
And are you using Python now?
Not in day to day, but I learned it from master.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. So on that note, you also undertook an internship for a tech company when you were in China, where you gained exposure to Tableau. which for anybody on this call is data visualization tool. Can you tell the audience how you used your knowledge of this tool to secure your current role at OMD UK? This is probably a best kept secret. So anybody that wants to go and work for you guys, listen carefully.
Yeah, how I secured is yeah, I got to know this tool when I was in that tech company. It's like a massive size company. So when you join them, you feel like you're not like tiny, and I wouldn't say I benefit from this day-to-day job a lot from my experience, but I got the great exposure of what the real people are doing, the data people are doing, which really benefit me, like my horizon and whatever. So I saw people doing Tableau for their day-to-day with those fancy dashboard, and I got quite interested. So I did some research myself, and when I did OMD internship afterwards, I thought of this tool, and I did a non-linear regression on that. So with a fancy like dashboard showing to your recruiter, so they, yeah, it's a good laugh. They can feel like so yeah. And also even after I got into OMD, I got a project about using Tableau, so I guess it definitely helped me a lot.
Definitely, yeah. That, and going back
to
what Martin says, every day's a learning day, right? You need to keep it up. And I guess with data, especially in most careers, that it's evolving, tools, programs, etc. So it's good to be in the loop. Lauren, let's go back to you. We've not spoken to you much yet. You had such great success when you were learning and passing exams, but when it came to internship interviews, they weren't so easy to pass, were they? So what advice would you give anyone in the audience that has not been successful interview, or actually generally worried about it as a process? Is there anything that you can offer in terms of advice?
Yeah, so when I was in school, I always found exams okay, didn't struggle too much with them. But when it came to interviews, that was something I'd never had to do before, had no idea what I was doing. And the first few interviews I did got rejected because I was quite shy back then as well, really didn't know what I was doing. So I'd say just use them as a learning experience. Don't expect to get the first one you do exactly right. Just take the feedback they give you. Try and prepare as best you can, but at the same time, don't expect to be perfect the first time. And just, I think the more you do, the easier they become, the more comfortable you get talking about yourself and answering questions about yourself, which is not necessarily the easiest thing to do, especially when you're a student and don't have much to talk about.
Well, no, that's exactly right. And I guess the thing is as well, there's a lot of pressure. You finish your studies, you're going into the real world, and it's a big old world to go into. But I guess one of the things that they could talk about, and I'm going to do a shameless plug now, is if they've done a career challenge with Digdata, because then they would have a discussion topic. And actually some grads that worked with us last year who are now working in data roles actually said that it was a great opportunity to talk about something. I'm sure with the projects that you did, Martin and Vicky, it's a good opportunity to talk about something that you've that's challenged you, something that you've overcome, and something that you can really decipher where you need to develop some skills. But Lauren, again, when you were looking for a job, you applied and interviewed for companies and roles that weren't even of interest to you. And I think we do that when we're a graduate. We're like, oh my God, I need to get a job, I need to get a job, I need to get a job. So you just start applying for loads of random stuff. What was the feedback from the client when you weren't successful? And what is your advice to students now, perhaps in the same position, slightly panicking, got a little bit of imposter syndrome going on, about if they're starting to blanket apply for roles, i.e. literally go out for everything? What would you say to do? And what was that feedback?
Yeah, so in my second year of uni, I did an internship in where I am at PhD now in data. So I thought in my third year, let's try something different. Let's try and go for consulting. Surely I didn't get it right the first time round. Applied for all these consulting roles and got a few final interviews, but didn't get any of them in the end. And basically all the feedback was, you don't seem that interested in consulting. which, to be
And
fair
that's
to
because you
some
were.
recruiters, I was not that interested in consulting. And then I kind of went back to myself, thought about it, and like maybe data was the right thing the first time round. So went back, applied for some more data roles, and here I am now, back at PhD.
Brilliant. And I guess I remember you saying to me actually that one of the reasons that sort of prompted you to do that is because of quite a lot of your friends were applying for sort of consultant role. And I think that's another thing, isn't it? Don't follow, walk your own line, really.
I feel like when you're at uni, everyone's applying for the big names, everyone's applying for like the same kind of jobs. Someone's going for consulting, you're like, oh, I could do that as well. You don't have to follow exactly what your friends are doing. Do what suits you.
No, exactly. And I guess on that point about blanket applying for jobs, so if you have got a particular interest in something, whether if it's data, but you've got a passion for, I guess, media or health or gaming or whatever else, actually, I guess we're now in a situation, and very, very blessed, that there would be a company out there that could help you. So I guess there's always going to be an element of blanket applying for jobs, but maybe let's not make it as extreme. Try and stick within the kind of realms of things that actually interest you, rather than things that don't.
Also, I'd say sometimes it takes actually applying for the job to realize that when you're trying to write that application, does it come naturally to you, or is it a really hard work to do? And if it comes naturally to you, then maybe that's a sign that it's a good one. But if it's a real struggle, then maybe take that and be like,
exactly,
do I really want to do
that as a sign?
Do I want a career in this?
Love it. Thank you. That's great advice. Molly, this is another thing that I think is quite daunting for students, certainly, graduates coming on into the marketplace. Job specs, those wonderful job specs. They're like Christmas lists. What do you want for Christmas? I don't want anything. Oh, actually, I'll have, and then I'll have, and I'll have, and I'll have. And I think they can seem really daunting when you're job searching. Okay, they seem almost an impossible list of requirements. How do you and your organisation, and I guess Omnicom Media Group and Rapp as a whole, make these less daunting? And how do you personally select CVs versus job specs and requirements? And do they always match?
I think job specs, to start with, they are super scary, and I do a lot of pushing back on job specs and say, sorry, this isn't going to work. Like, you can't send this out to people, they're not going to know what the hell you're talking about. So it's a lot of working with the hiring manager. And I think a lot of the focus on some of our job specs tends to be more on the agency, the structure of the agency, just to give the candidate more of an idea of that side of things, and just break it all down. So it'll be a quick summary of the agency, a quick summary of the client, the team, and sort of responsibilities for the role, and what your day-to-day would look like. But keeping it really quite sort of brief, and sort of very top line. They're not pages and pages long. They tend to be one page. If they're more than one page, again, like, I'll push back and let's make it more concise. So it's a lot of sort of working with the team, working with me, what we think is best for the candidate, because we both have an understanding of different things, and sort of trying to get a mix of both of our sort of strengths is the key, I think. And I think additionally, when kind of communicating with them, I make it clear to them that it's really their responsibility as well in your first stage interview to really talk about the role in more detail, give them, the candidate, the chance to ask any questions. And I think where these roles are sort of entry level and they're early talent, it's really important that the hiring managers do take the time to explain their roles, use simplistic terms, because the amount of sort of jargon that there is just in the media industry alone is just crazy. So it's really essential that they really strip it back and make it clear. In terms of CVs, again, that's working with the team, what are they looking for and that kind of stuff. And then I think it's my role to kind of break down those CVs. I think a lot of the time it's easy to get on a call with someone. I like to have a chat with them and say, tell me more about this and that. And most of the time you can find something that will make someone relevant for the role. And usually if they're applying for it and they're passionate about it, that'll do. And I think that translates in the interview, and that always impresses the hiring manager when people are sort of super passionate. It always helps, 100%.
Definitely. And I guess, you know, the beautiful thing about having somebody on these students' side, Molly, is the fact that your job is to dig deep, you know, and to really uncover, unravel, you know, these lovely skills that are there. And I guess also give you know, those students, you know, the confidence actually that what they've done or what they're about is really, really valuable, right? Because everybody comes in different shapes and sizes. And if everyone was the same, then we'd have a pretty boring agency, I'm guessing. And you're far from that, that's for sure. Martin, right. You've been told that one of your natural talents is to explain the unexplainable many times. This provoked the decision to train as a teacher, realizing that wasn't quite right for you. You wanted to work in the commercial world, felt was better suited. How has your teaching experience helped you professionally?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the main thing I took away from it really was the confidence to actually explain the unexplainable, because it's easy to, you know, family and friends and people around you to say those things to you, but you know, actually doing it to a room full of 30 kids or to a room full of 30 very senior members of your client team, being able to unpick something that's incredibly complex, whether it's a big data set or just something that's just complex, to somebody who maybe not as well versed in that area or just simply wants to understand the very basics, being able to unpick those things and assemble them in such a way that they can understand it. It's the biggest thing. Is I had to do it on a daily basis, structure my lessons to make them fun, but also make them understandable. You know, that's the point. But also in terms of maintaining professionalism, you know, it's you're constantly switching between a social life and a work life in teaching, and it's difficult in that job to find a balance between both. And so that was one big thing I took from it as well, being able to harmonize those two disciplines of my life. It's a bit one of the biggest things.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, you know, to your point as well, we've all been students and we've all had incredibly inspiring lecturers or teachers, and we've also had some not so. And I guess, you know, trying to keep that kind of engagement up, you know, it must have been exhausting, but at least you're putting it to good use now, okay, and breaking down.
Never read from a slide as well, is it? You're presenting, never read from the slide.
Exactly that. There you go. That's the top tip for the day. Again, Martin, it would seem that each one of your experiences, and you know, they seem to be, I guess, somewhat different, but actually if we were to connect the dots on them, it has sort of, it's almost like you've gained a new skill, then you build a pipeline that you've taken into your current career. I expect it didn't always feel like that. I mean, the thing is, I think we all think that when we come out of uni or college that actually everything's going to tie up nicely and we're going to go from A to B and that's going to be fine. And we all know that sometimes that doesn't happen. Okay. So what is your advice to anyone in the audience right now? And I'm sure there's lots of them out there thinking, I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea what my next move is, what path is. I don't even know what I'm good at. What would be your advice?
I definitely echo what Lauren said about what your friends are doing. I think I had a hard time at uni when I came out of uni thinking, oh, well, my friends are doing this, so I must do it because we've got the same degree. Surely we're all going to be successful. But again, like you said, Rachel, we're all different sizes, come in different shapes and sizes. You know,
exactly.
It's not a one role fits all, or vice versa. It's you find your own path. And I think the main bit of advice I'd give is resilience. There are many times when I would submit applications to many jobs, and always get decline those jobs. And I think, well, what's going wrong? What haven't I got that would get me to succeed in this role? And just don't get deterred. Don't get put off by people saying no to you. That resilience is so key because it gives you the drive to keep going. Learn something else. Learn something more. Make yourself better for that role to stand out more. I think resilience is the key.
I think that's a great answer. And actually, I remember, you know, when I first started off my career in sales, that, you know, you can get disheartened because you're making these phone calls to do it. It's no. But then somebody turned it on its head and said, well, listen, right, every no you get, you're just getting closer to a yes, right? You know, I never thought of it like that. Guess what? Attitude changes, boom, get through. There you go. There's your sale. That's what it is. Resilience. You have to hold on in there. And sometimes it feels like, you know, your hands are slipping off the rope, but you know, you will get there. And I agree with you. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. You can't shape yourself to do a certain role because eventually you're going to come to the surface, and what you are and what you can give is the most important thing. Molly, this is the last question. Are you ready? As an early years talent specialist, what are your top 3 tips for anyone in the audience interested in applying for internships, placements, graduate schemes, apprenticeships. And I guess, you know, this can be both for your organisation, but just generally, because, you know, as being a specialist in this field.
I think my first tip would always be research. Research. I think it can be super daunting when applying to roles, but not only is it good for when you get an interview, but also it's good for you. It's a really great place to start. It's useful for you to see what's out there, what different companies are like, what are they doing, what are their values, whether that aligns with you, and that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes you do end up in a bit of a bubble of applying to kind of one type of role, or applying for roles like we mentioned that you see others applying for. But I think at the start of your career, especially if it's data you want to work in, I think you can cast your net quite wide. There's so many different industries where like your skills would be applicable. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. So definitely research what's out there. And I would say secondly, it's super cliche, but I would always say be yourself. I think when you're interviewing, especially for a more entry level role, the hiring managers are really going to want to see your personality. There's loads of grads and applicants, there's loads of super intelligent people, but the one thing that can absolutely make you stand out is your personality. And we say on our team, like, that's your superpower, so, you know, make sure that you let it shine. I think it can be super scary and you can feel super stressed in an interview, and I used to do this as well, and it would make my personality like shrivel up and I'd just be like a bit of a robot in interviews. But try and relax if you can and be as much yourself as you can. And I promise you, everyone at OMG and Rapp, everyone's so lovely. So if you were to interview with us, I can assure you there's absolutely nothing to worry about. And then third piece probably would be to keep going, as Martin's just said. It can be so tricky when you're trying to find a role. Some people will apply for a handful and be okay. Some people it takes a lot more. But try not to feel deflated, because within each interview you're going to get constructive feedback that you can work on. So although you might not get the positive outcome that you want, it's still being productive. I've had candidates who have gone for 5-6 jobs at OMG alone. And sometimes it's just about finding the right fit and the right team. So yeah, just try and keep going. Absolutely. Try not to get too deflated, because you'll find the right job for you for sure.
And I guess also you can, you know, if you're not successful the first time round, you know, you can always go back and reapply when you perhaps develop those skills and develop that confidence. And I guess one thing that I used to say to people is that, you know, everyone gets scared and they're nervous, right? But being nervous is the same emotion as being excited. It's how you channel it. And actually, just because you're being interviewed does not mean to say that you have to take the job, even if you're offered it, right? If it doesn't feel right, if the environment doesn't feel right, if it's something that it's something different to what you thought it was, you know, that's it. And when you turn that around, you take the pressure off yourself and you can try and enjoy it. So hope that's been super helpful for everyone. We've actually got through those quite quickly. Some really awesome stories here. We've had some great comments in the chat. So I guess over to you now, audience. Is there anything that you would like to ask any of our panelists? And please do use the chat function. Have we had anything come in yet, Sarah, that we can bring up right now?
No, nothing quite yet, but yes, that's what Rachel was saying. If we pop in the chat box, then we can answer all your questions.
Fantastic. So let's just wait a couple of seconds for that. Like we say, we've had enjoying the discussion. Thanks and well done. I think we've got a great, really, really great and engaging session tonight. And I think anybody that is looking to, you know, start a career or really start this kind of interview process and recruitment process, definitely, I wish there'd been something around in my day. We used to have to write letters, but that was, you know, a million years ago. A million years ago. Anything, has anybody got anything that they would like to ask? This is, here we go. Which skills, soft and technical, do you think are essential for a data analyst or data science in particular? Now, let's throw that out. I don't know who wants to take that. Should we pop that out to Martin? And if anybody's got anything else they'd like to add on there, that'd be great.
Yeah, so it's a great question. It's something that I actually asked myself when I applied. And I think what I've learned on this job is that there's quite a distinction between data analyst and data scientist. I think they're often misconstrued as being the same thing, when in reality, data analyst is somebody who can make sense of patterns and explain things that will be helpful for a business in a very clear and concise way. whereas a data scientist is very much back end. They're the people building the complex models and machine learning tools that companies use to guide their strategy. So I think in terms of soft and technical skills, a lot can translate between both, but I think soft, it's being open, being friendly, being confident, being able to a storyteller, be a storyteller, be an author in your own right. And in terms of technical, certainly what's helped me is SQL. Don't know if anyone's familiar with SQL in the audience, but it's a data querying language, and that's really pivotal in my role. If if I don't know that, then things are going to fail. So I think that's a good starting point. Like data querying languages and just being confident, being able to storytell.
Great, thank you. Has anybody got anything they'd like to add to that?
I would maybe just say for like some of our analyst roles and that kind of stuff in terms of like tools and that kind of stuff. I think a lot of our agencies are of kind of like OMD and Analect. I think they're of the sort of thinking that it's not sort of one tool fits all. So they look for kind of like a mix of all sorts of tools as well. So just to flag that as well.
Brilliant. And also there's so many resources now online, right, that are free, the short courses, the things that you can, I guess, wrap around your studies, which is good. So Rachel has said, what software do you use on a daily basis? Right, should we do a round robin here? Let's start with Lauren. What do you use on a daily basis?
I use R and Excel on a daily basis.
Okay.
I think PhD is quite oriented on R, but
right.
I think Python has a very similar functionality, so I could quite easily be doing the same thing in Python, but personally R and Excel.
Okay. And what about you, Lana?
I use Excel and Power BI. Just started using Power BI, so yeah. Okay.
And can you tell the audience what Power BI is?
It's basically a system. So one of the clients that we're using is I'm just going to say IKEA. And we basically have weekly reports or monthly reports that we send to the client, just talking about different KPI stuffs and all the important numbers. And we put that into this software called Power BI, and that kind of just updates it regularly for them. So rather than doing it manually where you have to type all up the numbers every week, you kind of have it all in one place, and it's really, really good. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. And Vicky?
I use R and Tableau day to day. And just echo Martin just said, like, I think for now I use I use R also for like cleaning out the data, which is also SQL could do, and I also use R to do some machine learning modeling, which also Python could do. So it's it's a system that you could pick whatever you like. But for data analyst, I think soft skills is another key, because you have to present back to clients, tell a story rather than just back end, more like strong and hardcore technical person. So yeah, it's more like a mix when it comes to data analyst.
Great news. And Martin, finally.
I use a bit of everything. Yeah, mainly it's like Python, SQL, all of the Microsoft suite. But it's mainly SQL and Excel.
Perfect.
They're the keys for me.
What I really love about this as well is the fact that actually, there's two agencies, everyone's working in a similar role together. There's different backgrounds, people have studied different things, people have got different skills, and actually what you're using on a daily basis in terms of your technical tool, is also different, which is great. This is a really, really wonderful session and really uncovering, the fact that it's so diverse. Right, look what we've got here. What is the interview process for the graduate data analyst role when you have them obviously live, Molly? Can you talk us through that a little bit, please?
Yeah, of course. So you'll have a first stage interview, probably with sort of 3 or 4 people, usually 3. They'll probably head up different sort of areas of the team, and they'll just have a chat with you, get to know you a bit more, ask you some questions probably based off your kind of experience that you might have had, what you've done at uni, that kind of stuff. More competency based questions as well. So that's the first stage, usually around 45 minutes to an hour. And then the second stage is always a task usually. So it's likely you'll be given a data set. So it might be you get a data set of a client's sales for the last 3 years. And they'll ask you to sort of analyse it and provide sort of recommendations, you know, which levers need to be pulled to sort of increase sales, that kind of stuff. You'll probably be asked to create a presentation and sort of recommend sort of things to them. And it's always that kind of stuff. Like you can always use sort of any software you deem appropriate for the analysis. As long as you're able to present it in the interview, then it's absolutely fine. And then once you've done that, it'll be offer or feedback, depending on what the team would like to do.
And I guess also, you know, for anybody that is on, you know, on the call today and hasn't done the OMG Media Group or Rapp career challenges this week, it's a great opportunity to jump on digdata.online and do that. There's also a library resource, so you can do lots of different Digdata career challenges, which I guess is going to help them do a data task and approach it with a little bit more confidence, right, Molly? Plus, it's a nice little thing to have on their CV as well. So, you know, rather than feel sort of very daunted, get yourself as prepared as possible with that sort of thing so you can breeze through that with ease. Okay, thanks everyone. My question is around someone with a foreign degree and work experience. The person has attended a handful of interviews and they also say that the CV is robust, but they come back later to say there isn't UK experience, and it's quite disheartening. I used to have this all the time, and it must be really frustrating. Molly, I'm going to throw that one out to you if I may. What are your thoughts on that, and how, I guess, how would you personally deal with that, or how do you need to deal with that? How important is it that we have UK experience for applicants?
I think for my data role, it's not something I look at, and I've actually never had pushback on a CV from it either. It's not something that's ever, I don't look at a CV and see sort of experience abroad and think that would be problematic. It's not something that we deem as an issue at all. If anything, it's good, because we'll get, you know, sort of CVs from people who may have been sort of always UK based and have sort of less experience. So I think if you've had an internship or some experience elsewhere, then that's always a good thing in my eyes, and also sort of the team's eyes. So yeah, I'm gonna try not to feel disheartened, because that's really sort of annoying feedback, I suppose, to have when you've got all that experience and you're struggling to get a role off the back of it. So that's a shame that sort of people have that view, I think.
Absolutely that, and I guess, you know, that might be something that we could discuss at a later date. So if you've got any further questions after this, it might be nice, Molly, and for anybody else on the panel, that if they email info@digdata.online, we can then distribute those questions as well. And certainly I think there might be some more help that we can give you and some advice on that particular subject. Okay, can you share a typical roadmap to becoming a data or business analyst? How can one apply for an internship or placement opportunity with Digdata? Oh, that's questions for me. That's exciting. Okay, well, the first thing is everything that we do is virtual work experience. Okay, so we have got lots of opportunity on our website. What I will do is I'll make a note of your name and I will pass everything across to you. But like I just said, we have just done some career challenges for 3 of our student cohorts, our years 7 to 9, which was Monday, years 10 to 13 was Tuesday, and we had our university and higher education students career challenge yesterday as well. So all of those details are still on digdata.online under live events, so you can still register for those. We've also got a library resource section, so if you are interested in gaining virtual work experience with BT or CACI or Capital One or Experian or ITV, you know, and Lloyds Banking Group, then there is an opportunity also to sign up and get some experience and work on those in your own time as well, which is brilliant, using our resources. You'll also be pleased to know that this career panel will be available in our library resource too, and that will be early next week, along with all of the other partner career panels as well, if there's anybody there as a potential employer that you'd like to rewatch. So I hope that's been useful. I've made a note of your name. I'll pop you some details in a bit. Next one. Good evening, panelists. Thank you for an insightful session. I wanted to ask that if I'm applying for digital media related roles for entry-level positions, when will be the best time to apply and reach out, since I'll be graduating in September? Molly, that's definitely got your name on it, that one.
So I think we're quite different at OMG in the sense that our recruitment process is super quick, to be honest. I know some companies you have to apply like a year in advance and it takes ages, but our process is kind of around 4 weeks. You can always send your CV over and email me. That's absolutely fine, and I can keep you in a talent pool and reach out to you when the roles pop up and when you finish your degree. But I think the best time is kind of quite soon after you've finished or a little bit before you've finished. It's a really quick process.
Great news. So, and one thing to mention actually to everybody here as well, when this session goes live, we will have a couple of email addresses, won't we? One for Omnicom Media Group and one for Rapp that we can share. So if anybody is interested, they can pop an email, maybe a CV across, and find out about when perhaps your next range of live vacancies will appear. I'm Julian, a final year digital marketing student at Coventry University. I've always been keen in the account management and social media marketing role. However, is it best to begin my career in an agency and eventually moving on to a conglomerate or bigger brand? What are your opinions on this? I have always been fond of working for an agency, but would also like to align my path in the long run. Wow, who's going to take that one? Any takers?
I just don't mind.
Go for it, Molly.
I would say, I suppose OMG is a little bit different because of the way we're structured, in the sense that OMG UK is a parent company and then we've got all our agencies underneath us. So you've got a really great, you get the nice agency feel, but you also get the security of knowing that you're part of, you know, a massive company as well. So I would say just apply for a job at OMG, obviously. I think we're like a good mix of both, to be honest. So yeah, that would be my take. I don't know if anyone's got anything to add.
No, definitely. That's great news. Anybody else want to add anything there?
I'm not a marketing person, but from what I heard from my housemate, because she used to work at OMD EMEA, so from her experience, she had in-house marketing for 3 years and then jumped to media agency. From basically have to trace back to her career from the start. But from her experience, she said she learned more from the agency. But the in-house marketing also helped her get a more detailed, more specified knowledge as well. Yeah, so it's worth just keep trying if you don't like whatever side. But yeah, agency is a good start, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And I think some people, you know, spend the whole of their career in agency. Some people, you know, are better suited to client side. I think it also depends, you know, at what point of your career, at what point, you know, what other things are going on in your life as well. You know, what you think you want and what you end up doing are always two different things. So I would say roll with the punches and just see what comes up at the time and see what fits, right? Where are you happy? Don't know, you know, I mean, it's good to have a plan, but not always set in stone too much. Okay. Right, another question. I actually have an interview for a digital media analyst role, but don't have much of experience. However, I'm willing to explore this role and gain greater interest in it. Would appreciate some advice on how I should approach this. Thank you, Molly. That's got to be you. Just a quick one, Julian. It's not working. It's not interviewing with Molly, is it? If it is, I'm going to absolutely. Can you give any advice then, Molly? What are we looking for? What if I was sat in front of you, Julian was sat in front of you now, you know, he's really super keen, but doesn't have that experience. What would you expect from him? How can he turn this around?
I think, just to echo what I said before, research and also probably really study the spec that you've been given, hopefully, and you know what the role entails, why you're excited about certain elements of the role, how you can apply some skills that you've had from previous things, whether it's uni or college, how you can apply that to the role, and I think just go in with sort of a real passion and sort of, you know, because that will come across if you're passionate about the role, for sure. So go with a real passion, I think, and you know, be completely honest and say, look, and because they really appreciate that interviewers. If you say, look, I don't have the experience, but I'm really willing to learn, you know, this is an example of in the past of how I've learned something and, you know, gone on to sort of implement it, that kind of stuff. So I think, yeah, just be honest, but do your research, really sort of analyze the job spec. And yeah, I think you'll be absolutely fine, hopefully.
Yeah, of course you will. Of course you will. Positive mental attitude. That's what we want.
Wow.
Well, I think we need to wrap this up. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of the panelists tonight. What a great session. What a way to end our 4 events with Omnicom Media Group and Rapp. Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Molly, your expertise in early years talent has been wonderful. Martin, Vicky, Lauren, Lana, wow. All great early years professionals. You've absolutely inspired me. I'm sure that you know, everyone in the audience is inspired too. One last thing I want to say is that, again, everyone will get a copy of this emailed to them along with some details about work experience, and if anybody would like to gain or some experience with GlaxoSmithKline, we've just released their career challenges on our website as well, which Sarah's just shared in the chat. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for committing your time and listening to these wonderful data professionals. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. See you later.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.